Hey guys, welcome to part 8 of the Landau build. As we touched on in part 7, we did not have time to finish the engine bay, so this episode is dedicated to nothing but that. We touched on a few of the issues as well, such as the torque box that we found as some extra work, the cross member, some horrid looking plate that's on the driver's side chassis rail. So let's hook in, shall we? So here's what a sampled torque box is meant to look like. You can see it has the triangulated bracket, and all of this entire area here is dead flat. As we look at the Landau now, we can see all the way across here has been pushed up, and by the looks of it, it's from some bracketry that was supporting the convertible modifications. And it's missing the triangulated piece, which by the looks of it wasn't even fitted at all from the factory. So it looks like old mate who was working on the left hand side was probably a bit hungover. Thanks, champion. We'll make sure we do that the right way this time. Down nicely. That'll do it. All of that out the way, we need to do one more here and one more here in the middle, and we'll be all sorted. And now we can call that good enough to install our triangular piece. So now we've got the correct side torque box out, we're going to strip this out. Easy as that. call that torque box back to factory specs. So moving forward with the left hand side, we've got to take care of the top radiator support inner area. What we're going to do, we're going to remove this section of the front support panel so that we can do the full repair here. But as usual, the torch of truth, we'll find our spot welds. Let's get him sorted. And we can kind of see, looking underneath, the extent of the rust, which means we'll have to make a cut roughly along here in order to access everything. Maybe hit the spot weld in there. About to find out. Oh, there he is. Easy as that. Done. On that note, we can now call the left hand side of the engine bay completely repaired. Happy days. And now we can finally move over to the driver's side of the engine bay. We've got the obvious bit of steel that needs to be replaced between the two mounting holes, but if we take a closer look, and also from behind, we can see that the fasteners themselves are quite rotten, so the thread's damaged, and particularly on the rearward one, it's lost a lot of its shape due to the rot, so we're going to replace those two as well with some spares that we've got. And so with the level of rust here, we're going to cut this entire section out, up along this way. We've got about 3 spot welds that we've got to take care of as well. Well, it looks like maybe 4, but not too bad. Now time to source our replacements. Nice and easy. All sorted. And that's a nice and easy repair, all sorted. Time for the battery mount. Moving on to the battery tray bracket. It is as easy as cutting out a couple of pieces like so and welding it all in place. Easily taken care of. And so now it's time to finally move on to our last issue in the engine bay on the right hand side. We need to see what's happening with this plate and why it's there. If we actually take a bit of a look on the inside through the inner chassis rail at the inspection panel, we'll shine a little bit of light in there, but we can't actually see anything. So as best as we can see, there's no rust inside the chassis on the back section. Perhaps there will be a little bit on the further forward section, but we need to spend our time and remove this. It's going to be difficult, it's going to take ages. I'm going to remove this front suspension as well, just to help give a bit more access with the grinder. But I'm going to cut along the base, cut along the top and across here, and I'll probably have to get in there as best as I can with the grinder and finish off with a die grinder, and then just see what's in behind. So with any luck, there's nothing there, but it's probably there for a reason, so let's find out. Simply cannot see anything wrong with this chassis so far. And no rust in there. And here we are now as we take a closer look. Outside of some pry marks from the tyre iron and a bit of surface rust, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this chassis rail at all. I cannot fathom why anybody would have put this in there. I'm thinking that maybe it was an Australian Chrysler owner who was used to cracked chassis rails, but these Fords aren't prone to this at all. Or someone thought it was a good idea for the convertible conversion. In any event, we will clean it all up and it will be back to factory spec in no time. we are, guys. That took a few hours to sort that out. This is why I hate doing work on vehicles that other people have worked on. But it's all sorted, it's back to how it should be. Time to get the suspension back in, and that'll take care of the right hand side. That's now the right hand side all sorted. Happy days. Now finally we can finish the middle. A nice and easy 6 spot welds per side. That'll make a pretty straightforward repair. You can somewhat see now after a bit of a clean up just how beaten up this really is. And that there looks so much better now. So now we'll fill in these welds and make sure we've got a nice flat edge here, and that'll be ready to put back in. And that'll do it, ready to reinstall. And that's another fairly easy repair, crossed off the list. And so moving to the upper section of the radiator support, we have 2 of these brackets which have snapped off from fatigue on each side, and they are there to hold the wiring loom in place, so this will be a quick and easy fix to put them back together. And that's a very straightforward and easy repair. So now moving on to the outside, on the top part of the radiator support, we've got the 4 Pressfit nuts that sit on top, and these threads are looking very suspect. In particular this one, I think we're going to have to replace it, but let's clean all 4 of them up with the tap and see how we go. we'll try this worst looking one. I'm not hopeful on this. Give it more. Well, there you go. It's actually enough. Happy days. That was a very easy fix. I was expecting to have to replace this one. So on that note, we can finally do our final piece on the front, and that is this section here. Let's get it done. And so our first step for this repair, we're going to fool around with our donor panel. We're going to do the usual grinding work and spot weld removal. Okay, so we now have our donor panel completely separated. I just want to point out a couple of things that I've done in terms of how I'm going about this. I've intentionally drilled the holes through on top. On the bottom, I've ground the spare panel out, and I'm going to do the exact opposite here. So I'm going to cut all this top section out here. I'm not going to drill any holes whatsoever. So when I fit this, it's better to just do the plug weld as I go along. And essentially the same thing's going to happen across the bottom. So just a little bit of technique to keep in mind when you're using a replacement donor panel, when you're not actually using exactly the same panels with each other. It makes it a lot easier when you're doing it. Now, the other thing to point out is that this is off an XC, which means it's different. If we have a look at this edge here, it's been folded up. On a Landau, it is not. So we need to beat this flat down, which is not a big deal. That brings us back to XA or XB spec. However, on a Landau we have 3 fastening points here, just as we do in the middle here. So we're going to take some more samples like we did with the bonnet hinges. They're exactly the same piece. We're going to take our spares and we're going to fit them to each side as well. So with those 2 modifications done, we'll be back to Landau spec. Anyway, on that note, I think we should get this out. Ready to install. now, all sorted. Looking a hell of a lot better than what we started with. There we are, guys. That wraps up episode number 8. We are now officially from the firewall forward on this Landau project, completely done with our metalwork. It is 100% sorted. So don't forget to join us for our next episode. It'll be number 9. We're going to install the plenum and its related bracing. And as always, don't forget to check out our links in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers. I need a bit more. Fuck you. Wow, son of a bitch, that fucking hurts. Oh, okay. That's just stripping out. Oh, fuck you. Oh, fuck you. Fucking marvellous cunt.
You'll be lucky if I can keep the cunt stable, mate. Yeah, well, that is a well-known fact. I'd never claim so either. Never. Not crazy.
The shit that I put up with, and your poor wife.
Eat a dick. Not crazy parquet for nothing. Come on, cunt, get involved. Don't fuck us around. I'd just like to point out the gas bottle sitting there while we were grinding, because she'll be right.
Fuck off, idiot.
She'll be right. What are you talking about?
She'll be fucking right.
All over it. It was dead so smart. I know it and everything.
We don't do IHS here, motherfucker.
Yeah, no shit. Mate. Amen.
You motherfucker. Oh, fuck. Oh, son of a bitch. Oh, you turd. Oh, you prick. Fuck you. Oh, you turd.